This video is for those of you who are struggling with self-concept, feel like you've hit rock bottom, or just lack self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-worth, and this, that, the other. And the reason I want to share this video is because I've been there and I'm kind of rebuilding myself back up again. And again, I want you to understand this shit comes in cycles. It's always going to be there. So don't think like you're just going to fix it and then it's not, because I've lived this out probably 3 to 4 times now, but I've just now became aware of it. And so ultimately, if you feel like you're at rock bottom or you lack self-worth or this, that, the other, it's probably because one, you're not still. Second, you are allowing your self-concept, your self-esteem, your confidence to be rooted in external factors that are outside of your control, such as outcomes, such as whether somebody likes you, such as whether you get the job, or whether how much money you make, or even as crazy it is, something that I'm learning, being the leanest I've ever been, is my body. Right? It's like the body that I have now, right, can still play tricks on you. And if that's what you are basing your self-worth and your self-love on, right? Because in the morning I could wake up in abs, and with abs, I feel great. And then if that's what's causing me to feel great, but then in the afternoon after I eat, I'm bloated, which everybody is going to be, then again, my self-confidence is wavering. It's on something outside of the self. And I'm ultimately at the mercy, my happiness, my peace, my internal things are at the mercy of things that are outside of myself. And what's crazy about this is that in reality, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. So if you're not self-confident, if you're not, stable, the way you see yourself is chaotic and dependent on external factors, reality is just going to reflect that. You're not going to get stability. And like I said, this is just one of those things where I'm learning right now. Like, it's so crazy how many times in my life that I've been through the cycle, and I'm just now becoming more aware of it. And I'm not going to beat myself up over it, because that's ultimately putting my self-concept down. But I do want to share this video, and I want to share how I'm rebuilding and how I've rebuilt myself out of this, and what I'm doing this time to go further than the last few times, and go further than the last few times, and spiral upwards rather than downwards. To start off here, there's a saying that a bird does not put its trust in the branch that it sits on, it puts its trust in its wings. And that's a bar. And the reason this is very important, right? The reason that's very important, and the reason I'm probably going to get like a bird tattoo or something like that, is because in many times in my life, I've placed my sense of self-worth on something outside of myself, on the branch, right? On the branch. And the branch could be anything that I've attracted in my life, whether it's been a relationship, whether it's been the dynamic that I hold with my friends, whether it's been the job that I have, or the job opportunities, the amount of money I make, right? Those are ultimately the branch. And what I essentially, what I failed to realize was that it was my wings that got me there in the first place. My fucking wings were the ones that got me to that branch, from the trunk of the tree to that branch, right? And ultimately, when I forgot this, whether it's the car that I drive, anything, ultimately when we forget this and I place that sense of trust on the branch, and I stopped, remembering that my wings was what got me there, and I forgot how to use my wings, and I put my full weight on that branch, and I'm using that branch for stability, for security, for validation, right? For sense of self-worth. The same way the bird uses the branch to rest, ultimately all that weight that we're putting on it, that importance that we're putting on it, it's going to cause the fucking branch to crack, right? And because we've placed all of our worth on that, we fail to realize that when the branch falls, right, that we have our wings, that are able to make ourselves flap up high into the next branch, to the top of the branch, right? And what I'm trying to get at this is, like, on a masculine level, when we choose something over our purpose, we lose both that thing, the branch, and we lose our purpose, the wings, right? On a logical level, when we stop doing the work and we lose the momentum because we choose to be comfortable with an outcome, we then lose the momentum and we lose the outcome that was attracted to the momentum. This could be a relationship. This could be like in a car, for example. If I buy this Porsche, but I stop doing the work that got me the Porsche, I'm not going to be able to pay for the gas and the maintenance and everything like that for the Porsche. And I'm ultimately going to lose the fucking Porsche, and I'm going to lose the momentum that I had that got me the Porsche and built the money that allowed me to pay for the Porsche in the first place. So ultimately, that's probably what's happened to you in your life right now is you've put too much trust on the branch rather than your own wings. And so, like I said, I've done this multiple times. And I remember one of the times specifically what caused me to really react and fuck up big time was back in 2023 after my self-image was on 10, like I'm going out, having a good time, everybody knows me, da 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 da. I had unknowingly put my sense of self-worth on this job that I was going to get with Salesforce. Now that job is something outside of myself, right? Ultimately, because I put so much stress on it, I ended up fucking losing it. I fucked it up. I didn't even fuck it. Yeah, I fucked it up. But fuck them too on a real note. Like, I didn't like the manager. The vibes were off. But ultimately, I had put so much emphasis on that, me getting the job and being able to move and this, that, the other, that I got reactive. I forgot that it was me and my self-image and my self-worth and the actions that I did and the routines that I loved to be a part of that attracted that opportunity in the first place, that allowed me to relate to the people that gave me the referrals to get that opportunity in the first place. And so I went on this downward spiral. I essentially lost myself. I lost my sense of self-worth. I forgot who I was because I had given something outside of myself. And it's crazy now, like I'm getting fucking opportunities every day. Even a little recruiter from Salesforce. But I gave him a big F you know what I mean? But because I trust my wings more than I do the branch. So that brings me to my point now, right? How am I rebuilding myself from all of this, right? How am I rebuilding and how am I rebuilding and how am I rebuilding? Ultimately, the goal here is to know that self. And there's many different levels, like there's many different ways you can go with this, right? But I think ultimately it's to build those small wins again and to build that momentum and to build that trust with yourself and to build that stability within yourself. And this comes from me right now in my life. It comes from being non-reactive. It comes from making promises that align with my higher self and keeping those promises. And it comes with essentially building a deep belief and knowing that regardless of what the outside looks like, regardless if I go out today and I drive a minivan, the next day I go and drive a $60,000 Tesla, or next month I drive a Porsche, I'm still me. And my happiness does not come from those things. And I know that the Porsche is going to come, but my happiness is not dependent on that. My happiness is instead focused on the processes that I enjoy, which ultimately attract those because it makes me a better person day in and day out. And what I mean by this is, for example, a big reference to my fitness journey. The other day I got a compliment from the old head that I used to ask for advice for when I first started working out 3 years ago. Dude just came up to me in disbelief saying, wow, this is the leanest I've ever seen you. Like, I'm so proud of you. Like, even your voice changed and like, I couldn't even recognize you anymore, bro. What did you do? Did you this, that? Like, I'm so proud of you. And that's a good feeling. But ultimately, that was something outside of myself. And ultimately, when I reflected on my fitness journey and I said, okay, it wasn't until I gave up the outcome of having abs and this, that, the other, that I did the same thing where I said, you know what? I want this result and I know that this result is mine. And regardless if I'm fat, if I'm skinny, if I'm this, that, the other, I'm going to love myself and I'm going to have good self-esteem. And I'm going to let that drive me by keeping a schedule that I can be consistent with and keep a routine that I can be consistent with that gets me the results that I want naturally. So let's say 80% of the year I am putting work in and that 20% maybe I'm making mistakes and this, that, the other. Through that 20% and being aware in that 20% of making the mistakes, I'm ultimately going to refine and bring that 20% down to 10, that 10 down to 5, this, that, the other. But that 80% is what's going to build that momentum and affirm the identity that I carry within, saying that I am a healthy person, I keep my promises, and I do this day in and day out. So that way when I wake up the next day, I'm not looking in the mirror pissed off and upset that, oh, I'm chubby or this, that, the other. It's, yo, did I eat clean today? Did I hydrate? Did I eat my protein intake? I did? That's a fucking win. Knock it off, right? And we keep going and we keep going, and it affirms that identity that I am health, I am health, I am fucking health. And ultimately, you keep doing that and you affirm that identity, and your self-worth becomes on the work and the things that are within your control, such as, today that burger looked juicy as hell. I picked it up, I put it close, but then I put it down. I did not take a bite. That's a win. You're affirming through these wins and these promises that you're keeping to yourself. Ultimately, you're building your sense of self-worth that way. And when the branch comes, that's the branch right there. Look at this fucking temple, right? When the branch comes, I'm not attached to this. I'm not now all of a sudden giving up and flapping my wings and doing the this, that, the other. I did that beginning of this year and I messed up, right? But then I remembered, I got my wings. I know what works. I know what doesn't work. And I doubled down and I kept fucking going and ultimately unlocked this body that I have now. And I'm still continuously flapping my wings because I'm not attached to the result. I just love the fucking process. And like I said, right, even our body, the way we look is not something, it's something outside of ourselves. It's outside of our self-image or our frequency. That it can't be dependent, because I can wake up in the morning with abs and I can end the day with a gut that's full of food. And if I let that affect me and I react to that, I'm losing out and missing out on my process and losing the momentum that I've built that ultimately got me the result that I wanted, which was the abs in the morning, right? And this, I think, just goes about anything in life. And I'm learning to just pick myself up and rebuild that way. So small promises, right? I don't want to do anything crazy like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to make $60,000. No, let's be realistic. But hey, tomorrow I applied to this job. I said no to other jobs that may make me a lot of money, but ultimately I know I'm not going to be consistent with, and I'd rather be consistently good than inconsistently great, right? Okay, that's a win. I was aware of that. I did not react. Fuck, I want to make a shit ton of money. Let me go get No, I slowed down. I said, you know what? Ultimately, whatever I stay consistent with, whatever I learn the most, and whatever I'm excited about and I'm putting the work in towards and I really want to get better at, and I enjoy the process of getting better at every single day, which for me right now looks like branding and brand strategy and this, that, the other, then that's ultimately, as I master that, I'm going to attract and make a shit ton of money because I have the value. I know the ins and outs. So those are the wins, right? And ultimately this brings me into number 2, which is self-mastery. You cannot expect to master reality when you can't master yourself. And paradoxically, the way you see reality is the way you see yourself. So once you master yourself, you're ultimately going to master reality. And once you build more stability with yourself, you're going to attract more stability externally. And I've noticed this, bro. I've noticed this a lot. And one of the things I remember when I started dating again, bro, like once my self-confidence back in 2022, after I discovered self-love that summer, I went to London that summer, I went to San Diego that summer, and I just started unlocking these new self-concepts that were a result of the self-love that I had for myself. And I was 29% body fat at that time, but I loved myself, and that self-concept and that frequency and my systems ultimately led me to the 15%, which I achieved. But what I want to say here is that summer, right, my self-concept on 10, I started to unlock. I started to see reality and see myself in a different way. I started to notice the ways that I've been self-sabotaging. Oh, I can't date girls because I'm fat, this, that, the other. But then I started to love myself and decided, you know what? No, that's not true. I can do that. There's fat people that date beautiful girls. And then ultimately what was funny was I essentially just went into the gym with that energy and you feel me? It was game over. But what I meant to say is even on the dates, right? On the dates, the outcomes with the girls that I was with, this, that, the other, there was no outcome that I was attached to. It was essentially being a master of the self, because I could be on a date and be goofy or this, that, the other, ultimately trying to get attention or trying to make this person laugh or get an external result. But once I started to go on these dates and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to master that self. I'm going to have self-control. I'm not going to be goofy, but I'm also I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to listen more than I speak. Because if I'm speaking, it comes off in this if I'm speaking a lot and talking about my accomplishments or this, that, the other, it comes off weird, especially on a first date or something like that. But if I'm calm, if I restrict myself from trying to impress the other person, and I make that the process, that's something I have control over. I have control over not saying anything or not saying something, right? And controlling over what I say, that ultimately essentially created space for that other person. I remember one of them was telling me I have a lot of charisma because I was listening, or because I was quiet and I was still, for some reason they felt compelled to share a lot more than they've ever had. And not just days, right? Like just with like people that I meet randomly too. Like if I'm going out for food with friends and like I'm just talking to a random person, like I always get this told about myself. And this is a synchronicity with like the moments in life that are insane. Like life feels amazing, everything's vibrant, everything's clicking, right? It's because of that internal stillness that I have of, hey, shh, listen, give the other person the stage, put the spotlight. And there's that it's a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm pretty sure it talks about that too, right? It's give the other people the stage. And ultimately my goal wasn't give the other person the stage. My goal was my wings, right? Focus on the wings. Be quiet when you want to interrupt, when you want to this, when you want to try to correct them or this, that, the other. Be still, let them come to that point, and ultimately everything works out for you and you unlock things that you never meant to unlock and you come off more charismatic, right? But for me, the goal wasn't like, oh, what do I do so the outcome can be charismatic, because that's what my sense of self-worth is on. My sense of self-worth was, can I shut the fuck up or not? Can I be quiet and be still enough? And it's sick like how everything just kind of works out when you do this, because when you be quiet, you build still, you build this tension, which I think scientifically that does something to women, which is like really good for you. And then it draws them in more, this, that, the other. Even people like when you build this tension, people are like, oh my God, what's he gonna say? What's he gonna say? What's gonna happen? The same thing with these movies, they do the same thing, right? They create these moments of stillness. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? It draws you in, it makes it fucking magnetic. And that all came from just me putting emphasis on my wings and having self-control and mastering myself. And I'll share the contrast to this as well in a moment, but I just want to say that those are the moments in my life where I felt fucking fly as hell. Everything was sick. If somebody would ask me what I did for work, bro, I wouldn't say, oh, I do sales, or I do this. Like, I just be, it's confidential. If I tell you, I have to kill you. And it's just like a funny joke where it's like, oh, fuck, what the fuck does this person do? Or like, how did he, come across this way? Why did he say it this way? Like, it's always worked out for me, bro. It's always worked out for me. Or I'd give the chance to tell somebody else, like, what's like the best day in your life look like? And then I would do something. My number one line was like, I'd be in Dubai celebrating something, smoking a cigar with my pet monkey on the balcony. Like something just outrageous, right? Like not just saying nothing to like impress or nothing like that, because my sense of self-worth was not on the job that I had. My sense of self-worth was not on how much money I made or this, that, the other. And ultimately, I did not care about how I was perceived by somebody else. I was more so, am I in control of myself or not? Contrast to that, get into a relationship and I ultimately like let my guard kind of drop. I started to be a little bit more stupid and like lack self-control. And at first it's funny or this, that, the other, but then you start to realize how that plays into all aspects of your life, because as you do one thing, it's how you do the other, right? And so again, nothing wrong with having fun. Like, don't be a robot, this, that, the other, right? Leave some room for spontaneity. But majority of the time, 80% of the time, learn to be in control of yourself. Learn to master the self, and ultimately the results that come to you are going to be better results because you have mastered yourself, right? And this is not dating advice. This is just, I'm putting out there for context in reference to putting your sense of self-worth within yourself. And again, you can tell people what you do for work. You can tell people all these different things, but it's just the intention behind them that makes that. For me, like I said before that, a lot of my sense of self-worth was on what job I had, this, that, the other, and making that be a reason why I'm like lovable or not lovable. And again, this comes from like childhood, this, that, the other, right? For everybody is different. But for me, like I said, being a child, like I used to think that I could only be loved if I had good grades or if I could get the best, whatever, or this, that, the other. And then ultimately I realized that's not how it is, right? It's this lie, this belief that I had to let go of. So that's why I would not say what I did, because I didn't want it to come off as like, oh, I'm telling you this, so I deserve love. Nah, it's I deserve love regardless. I love myself regardless. And that's why I said that, because my sense of self-worth was within. And like I said, how you do one thing reflects into all aspects of your life. So yeah, be detached from, to end this off, bro, be detached from the outcomes, right? Be detached from the outcomes. Anchor your sense of self-worth and your confidence in something that's within yourself. And ultimately, in doing so and being detached from the outcome, you ultimately attract the outcomes because you are stable within yourself and like you have the vessel and you're building the vessel to hold all of the things that you want to bring into and attract into your life. And that's the whole point of this is to step into the version of ourselves who is living and achieving the desired reality that we want with flow rather than force. And that comes from anchoring yourself and merging yourself with that version of your highest self. And that is something, and those are all internal, right? Those are all rooted within things that are in your control. Because when we do want to achieve and when we do want to grow in life and we see people that we want to be like, right, we ultimately see the outcomes and think that the outcomes is what makes them them. But ultimately, it's what's who they are that attracts the outcome that they're able to keep in their life. Because you do not get what you want, you get what you are. And ultimately, that's reflected within yourself because everything is a mirror. So yeah, build that self-trust, build that confidence with yourself by aligning with your highest self and keeping the promises that you make with your highest self and with yourself to be able to merge those two into one. Merge you now into the version of your highest self that is living the desired reality that you're living. You'll ultimately see things click like that. This video was a good fucking video, man. I'm not gonna lie. But, okay, and even with these videos, right, it's like, I could be, oh man, I made a video and I put so much work into it, but it didn't get the views that I wanted, or this, that, the other. Now it's, I'm going to show up every fucking day and I'm going to make a video because I love making the videos. I don't care. I don't need the 1,000 subscribers or the 100,000 of views. I like making videos because I like making videos, because I like self-improvement, because I like growth, because I like putting my ideas out there, because I like documenting my growth, my journey and everything like that. And when I go about life in that way, I'm ultimately going to want to show up and do this shit every single fucking day. And like, even yesterday when I became fully aware of this and I put the plan into action, I wrote it down and everything like that, I still got distracted, right? I still let negative beliefs come in, but I didn't tear myself down and say, why the fuck are you having these negative beliefs and, this, that, the other? Why are you letting these affect you? Instead, I said, yo, I'm so proud of myself for being able to refocus. Thoughts came in, I allowed myself to refocus. External things came in and I allowed myself to refocus on what matters. And I said, that's real. And ultimately, what I started to realize, which was crazy, is that the things externally that would come and bother me were still there, but I didn't let them bother me anymore. And I refocused on what it was that I need to do. Because as within, as without, right? And ultimately, you do that, and then those external things just don't come anymore. And if they do, they don't bother you. So they don't notice them. Because you don't see reality as is, you see reality as you are, man. So that's the banger I want to leave you with. Hit the subscribe button, drop a like. And if you don't, you don't. Who cares? Wish you the best.